Welcome to the 1723 podcast with me, your host, Shaun Butler. Now, today we're taking a look at India and the expansion of Freemasonry as the borders of the British Empire expanded across the globe. The first recorded Indian Freemason was actually a Muslim, the future Nawab of Arcot, and we'll hear a bit more about him later on. He was initiated in 1775 in Madras, and after his initiation he stated that he considered the title of an English Mason to be at once a cement to the friendship between your nation and me, and confirms me the friend of mankind. He expanded on the sentiment in a letter to the Grand Master of England in 1778 when he said, "An early knowledge and participation of the benefits arising to our house from its intimate union of councils and interests with the British nation, and a deep veneration for the laws, constitutions and manners of the latter, have for many years of my life led me to seize every opportunity of drawing the ties subsisting between us closer and closer. By the accounts which have reached me of the principles and practices of your fraternity, nothing can be more pleasing to the sovereign ruler of the universe, who we all, though in different ways, adore, or more honourable to his creatures, for they stand upon the broad basis of indiscriminate and universal benevolence. Under this conviction I have long wished to be admitted to your fraternity, and now that I am initiated, I consider the title of an English Mason as one of the most honourable I possess." Now, to help us find out more, we are joined today by Susan Snell, Archivist and Records Manager in the Museum of Freemasonry. Hello, Susan.
Hello, Shaun, and thanks for the welcome.
No, not at all. Thank you very much for coming. Now, just to get us kick-started, when did Freemasonry arrive in India?
Freemasonry arrived in India as the British and other nations expanded their imperial interests across Asia. Members of the British East India Company started a lodge in Calcutta, now Calcutta, under the Grand Lodge of England in 1730. So that's only a few years after the Book of Constitutions was actually published. Lodge members adopted the company's coat of arms, which was a golden lion supporting a regal crown, as a badge.
Right.
But the lodge didn't prosper and was actually erased by the middle of the 18th century. The first lodge in Bombay, now Mumbai, in the Punjab, northwestern India, was granted a warrant in 1758. And a few years later, the first lodges were granted warrants to meet along the coast of the Coromandel Peninsula in Madras in southeastern India. But in Sri Lanka, formerly known as Ceylon, a warrant to form a lodge was granted in 1810.
Ah, that's interesting. Why exactly did Freemasons start meeting in India? Was there a reason behind it?
Yes. Freemasonry arrived with the European merchants and other settlers who wanted to meet, as it says in the Book of Constitutions, good men and true, or men of honour and honesty. An expectation of trust, reliability and honesty among members was attractive to residents from overseas. Other lodges in India in this earlier period included travelling lodges, meeting in military regiments, which met where they could while they were on army duties. Travelling and static lodges in India also met under warrants issued by the Grand Lodges of Ireland and Scotland.
Sure.
So you could have several lodges in a single regiment. Some travelling lodges settled in towns as local members joined, and their character changed as a result.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, the obvious question that comes up as a sort of sprouting all over the place: were local men able to join as members?
This is where it becomes a little bit tricky.
Yes.
At first, lodges welcomed British and European merchants as members, or soldiers joined travelling lodges attached to military regiments. But soon locals asked to join the lodges, and 2 Muslims were initiated in Trincomalee, Madras in 1775, and in Calcutta, now Calcutta, Bengal in 1812. As the Book of Constitutions reminded members, Freemasonry aimed to promote true friendship among persons that must else have remained at a perpetual distance. and that members could be of all nations, tongues, kindred and languages. The Book of Constitutions also acknowledged that members overseas would be of different religions, but Freemasonry obliged them to believe in a faith common to all men.
So we talk about these early sort of Indian Freemasons, the people joined. Do we know much about them? Do we have any records that tell us much about these people?
We know about a few of them.
Right, okay.
And one interesting man is Umrat al-Umra, who was the son of the Nawab of the Carnatic in southeastern India, who was initiated in 1775. This event was reported at the Grand Lodge meeting in London by Terence Gahagan, who was an East India Company doctor, and he was a member of Perfect Unanimity Lodge in Madras. Grand Lodge sent Umrat al-Umra an apron, a Masonic apron, and a copy of the Book of Constitutions.
Brilliant.
Just to underline this relationship.
Amazing.
Umdat, who succeeded his father as Nawab 20 years later, sent Grand Lodge a loyal address, now in our archives at the museum.
Wow.
This large document includes an English translation of a letter written on fragile Indian paper. And this document is about 1 metre by 1 metre.
Wow.
It's huge.
Yeah.
Umdat al-Umra also presented a diamond sword to the Prince of Wales, who was the Grand Master. In return, Grand Lodge sent Umdat a personal letter and a portrait from the Prince of Wales.
Right.
And these gifts aim to consolidate local relationships, ensuring that the Nawabs of the Carnatic remained loyal, unlike other southern Indian states that opposed British rule.
Yeah. And what happened to those local men who tried to join lodges? Do we know much about that?
We know about another man. His name is Malik G Kersey, who was a Parsi, or we might call him a Zoroastrian lawyer. Yeah. He tried to join the English lodge Perseverance in Mumbai in 1840, but the lodge rejected his application because he was Indian. He travelled to England to petition the Duke of Sussex, Grand Master, a keen supporter of the concept of universal brotherhood. But unfortunately, Malik G arrived just as the Duke of Sussex was travelling on the continent.
Oh, no.
And Kersey tried to follow him, but in the end was initiated in a French lodge in Paris.
Oh, right, okay.
So he returned home to India in 1843, and he tried again to join Lodge Perseverance, but was again refused. This led to the consecration of Rising Star of Western India, which is a Scottish lodge proposed by Dr. James Burns, who was an East India Company doctor, so that they might initiate local men.
Yeah.
The museum has 2 examples of the Burns Medal, which was first struck to commemorate Burns in 1844.
Yeah.
The obverse shows Dr. James Burns, and the reverse has full figure representation of the Parsi, Malik G Kersey, and a Muslim, Muhammad Jafar, each wearing contemporary local dress with Freemasonry regalia. Highly prized, this medal is still awarded to distinguished Freemasons who aren't lodge members.
Oh, that's fascinating. So we've spoken about, obviously, the sort of various different sort of groups within Indian society slowly joining Freemasonry. Who was the first Hindu Freemason? Do we know anything about?
Yes, it proved difficult for Malik G Kersey as a Parsi to become a Freemason, but in fact the members of the Parsi community were working closely with British colonial authorities in Mumbai or Bombay. Members of multi-theistic faiths, such as Hindus, did not find it as easy to join English lodges, which require members to believe in a supreme being.
Absolutely, yeah.
Various Grand Masters challenged the attitudes of British administrators in India, and a compromise was reached, enabling Hindus to join. a Calcutta merchant, Prasanna Kumar Datta, was initiated in 1872 as the first Hindu Freemason in an English lodge, Anchor and Hope. And I recently had an inquiry from that lodge about his membership.
Oh, amazing.
So Datta campaigned for 9 years to change the district bylaws to initiate Hindus, and he was appointed Deputy District Grand Master of Bengal in 1895. And in fact, the museum's library has a copy of Datta's autobiography, which tells the story about how Hindus were initiated and includes some notes about his life as a Freemason, which was published in 1900.
Yeah, well, that is absolutely, and presumably people can come and see that in the museum should they wish. Fantastic. Now, I'm sure there'll be plenty of people listening to this that as a result will want to find out more about Freemasonry in India. How can they do that if they're interested? Well,
the good news is that now you can see names of all the members in Indian lodges before 1921 that are recorded in the Grand Lodge membership registers through Ancestry, the genealogical subscription service, which is available for access at no charge in the museum.
Fantastic.
Or you can also look at it if you're a subscriber of Ancestry.
Yeah.
So you can find details for all Freemasons in Indian lodges working under Grand Lodge, including that famous member, Rudyard Kipling. In his autobiography, Something of Myself, Kipling claimed he was initiated by a Hindu in Lodge of Hope and Perseverance, Lahore, in 1886, that he was passed by a Muslim and raised by an Englishman, and the lodge Tyler was an Indian Jew. Kipling, who served as lodge secretary for some years, tried to emphasise the inclusivity of English Freemasonry in India rather than basing this on actual events. In many lodges in India, and increasingly in England, several volumes of different sacred laws are put on a pedestal in a lodge room, so a candidate can take his oath as a Freemason according to his personal faith. In this way, Freemasonry is a membership organisation which unites people together across divides, just as the Book of Constitutions proposed in 1723.
Absolutely. Well, Susan, that has been absolutely fascinating, and I'm sure plenty of people will be taking you up on your invitation to come and have a look at all the fantastic bits and pieces that you have in the museum and the library here at Freemasons Hall. Susan, thank you so much again for coming on and speaking to us about this. It's been absolutely fascinating to hear about. Everybody else, listeners, just a reminder, please do subscribe so you don't miss any more of our future podcasts that will be coming your way as we delve deeper into the history of the 1723 constitutions. You can also follow us, United Grand Lodge of England, on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, etc., etc., etc. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you today, and we look forward to seeing you soon. Goodbye.